It's Brandon Ramey here with Veteran Home Services, and I'm excited to interview. I have my buddy, my colleague, Silverio Martinez with Century 21 Everest. Good morning, Silver.
Oh, thank you, thank you, Ram. Thank you, Brandon, for having me over here. This is exciting.
Yeah,
I'm excited to talk.
Very excited to get your story out to the world, and I appreciate you doing it, man. It takes a lot of a person, just courage in terms of sharing a personal story like this to everybody. And it's not everybody, it's everybody in our group. We created the group Think and Grow Real Estate to collaborate. It's a mastermind group. It's to have the top agents in the industry who I hold closest to my heart. So I appreciate all of you and just your trust and respect in hopping in and wanting to grow and to learn. And the goal of this is to collaborate. You know, we don't have the best, let's just be blunt, best perception by many people in the public in terms of what a real estate agent is and what we do. There's a lot of negative publicity out there. And a lot of times, hey, Andrea, we don't help ourselves when we're competing for listings, when we're competing for, it's commission based in terms of our industry. So there's a lot of negative things that are said out there. And what I'm hoping to do with this is not only to get Silverio to share his story, but to really work on breaking down the barriers and us working and collaborating together as a community. And that was one of the things I wanted to do coming from law school. I thought about how do I want to have an impact in Ventura County, in my home area, in the real estate market? Because to, again, be direct, we got a lot of negative rap when the market crashed back in 2008. Ironically, we're going through some challenges, some major challenges right now. There's a lot of uncertainty with what's going to happen with the market. I forgot to connect to Facebook Live. I'll continue with what we're going, and then we'll do that in a second. But there's a lot of uncertainty with what's happening. So my goal is to really get us to collaborate, work together, not come in and just try to take information and not contribute, but really come in with an open mind, open heart, and help each other out. So I've found that serving is the best way to truly, when you come from the right place, from the heart, as we were talking about last night, Silverio, when you come from a place of service and truly just doing something without hoping for anything in return, amazing things happen in your life. So thank you, Silverio, for, being vulnerable for us and sharing this story. So let's go, man. Without further ado, let's get started. And then after Silverio shares his story, we're going to have Mark and Darci Richardson hop on, and they're going to give us some lending updates, which definitely we need to know, working with buyers right now, what to prepare for. So Silverio, so you told me about the vision and the dream. So Silverio was born and raised in El Salvador, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So your family, everybody, you're born and raised in El Salvador. You're about 15 years old. And was that about the first time that you had the vision of coming to the U.S., or when was the first time you had that vision?
No, I think I was younger. I was probably, I would say about 10 or 11, something like that. Because everything started with me listening to classic rock. In El Salvador, everybody just listened to cumbias, merengue, salsa, and Spanish music, right?
Right.
And I was on the opposite side of that. Even though I didn't understand what the songs, the lyrics were, but I just loved the rhythm and the harmony and the energy that those bands presented, when I saw them live or when I saw them on TV. And I always thought, like, it'll be cool if one day I go to United States and I can go see these bands live, like where they play stadiums and clubs and stuff like that. That's when I started to think like that. It was I think the music triggered that in my mind. I'm like, it'll be awesome if I can see that live. And my mom used to tell me that I was just listening to the devil music, because that's what people call it over there. Like, she was like, you don't even understand what they're saying. And I say, Mom, I like that. I love the music. And she's like, oh, turn that radio off. You listen to the devil music again. But I think that's what triggers Tanza was Little, the music. First of all, was the music. Secondly, it was the Civil War. We had 12 years of Civil War.
Right.
And being a teenager, you know, being a teenager in a Civil War is devastating. I mean, you see people dying, you see a lot of atrocities in there, things that are not normal to people. And when you're a kid and you're looking at all those things, that's something that I wanted to get away from too. But at the same time, I didn't have anybody over here in the United States to say, hey, come over here. I'll set you up over here, whatever, nothing. Right.
Right. So
And so,
no family at all here in the U.S. Janet, do you have a question?
Oh, no,
Oh,
sorry.
that's okay. That's all good. If you do,
what, are you still exercising?
I'll wait if I do. Sorry, guys.
no, feel free. Feel
I'm
free.
getting comfy.
There you go. Crack your beer open or your mimosa.
Well, I don't want to eat. I don't want to eat online. That's why I keep going in and out. So sorry.
It's all good. So Silver. So you're listening to music. You always visualize coming to America. Obviously close with your mom and your family there. So it definitely was a tough decision. And then you talk about the Civil War. Civil War was pretty rough. I remember you mentioned that when you were 15, you had like the best job ever. Tell us a little bit about that job and what happened.
Yeah. So I finished up my high school, and then I went 2 years to ITT college, and I learned to become a machinist. And so I landed a job in San Salvador, the capital. Our family is from Santa Ana, so I traveled to San Salvador and got this job, the best job I ever had in El Salvador, working for this international company, and got paid really well. And I had 2 hours lunch, so we will eat lunch in 30 minutes, and then the rest of it we will play soccer every single day. We play soccer. It was just great,
Right.
But doing that, finding a job like that, I forgot for a minute to come to United States, because I was just happy. I'm like, I have no reason to leave. I got a great job. I got a girlfriend, got my family. I'm set. But then during the Civil War, they will recruit, teenagers from either the guerrillas or the army, and I got recruited by the army, and so I had to go. They took me in, and you can't say no. They grab you on the streets, take you, put you in a truck, you're into to a military base. So I spent 5 days in there, and luckily I had a good friend of our family that she was able to get me out. And as soon as I got out, I went back home and I told my mom, I said, you know what? Next week, I'm leaving. And she's like, oh, you're going to go back to San Salvador to work over there? I said, no, I'm leaving the country. And she's like, what? She's like, you don't have anybody over there. I say, I don't care. Anywhere I go, it's going to be better than staying over here. I say, I don't want to go through this again. It's just, no, I don't want it. And so I got together with a few friends, and we started the trip.
Wow.
And you were 15 years old, right? You said so.
Oh no, when I left, I was 16.
16 when you left.
Yeah.
And but again, got the perfect job or great job, loving life. Everything's good. You get pulled off the street. They ask you for your ID, ask for your documentation, and then they throw you in the back of the truck. And you also mentioned that your mom, you didn't get to tell your parents. You get to know your mom didn't even know where you went.
That's
that
correct.
Your aunt, you were living with your aunt, I guess, and your aunt was the one who told your mom?
Yeah. So yeah, what happened is somebody that knew my aunt saw me, that they grabbed me and put me in the truck. And she ran to my aunt's house and said, hey, they got Silverio. And so my aunt came around and she tried to talk to the soldiers, so the soldiers would let me out or let me go. They said, no, he's staying. And so my mom knew, and so I told my aunt, I said, aunt, tell my mom to talk to so-and-so, she can get me out.
Right.
And that's how that happened. And I spent 5 days in there because I was taken in on Thursday, and the guy that was supposed to get me out was on vacation over the weekend at some beach over there in El Salvador. So I had to spend 5 days in there, but those days were like, it was brutal. It was brutal. I mean, there was no respect, you know. It's just, and I didn't like that. So as soon as I came out of that, I'm like, I am out. I'm out of here, you know. And at that point, I had a determination point. It was going to happen whether my mom liked it or my dad liked it or not. And I told both of them. As soon as I got home, I said, you know what? I want to talk to you both, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm deciding to do this next week. And my dad was more comprehensive. He's like, hey, you do what you got to do. It's like, I don't want to see you leave, but I understand your point, you know. And my mom was like devastated, but you know, she understood. She understood that it was better for me to leave than stay there, because most of my high school friends were killed, you know, during that war. So it was like, what am I doing over here? Everybody just, you know, dying left and right, and I need to find another place to live. I need to get out of here. So I took off and, you know, traveled through Guatemala, Mexico. I ran out of money when I was in Mexico, and I had to stay in Guadalajara, the city of Guadalajara in Mexico, and find a job and get some work done and save money so I can continue my journey. And as soon as I got enough money, I was there for like 6 months. As soon as I got enough money, I continued my journey by myself. And I came to United States. It was in Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas. And I remember when I first came in, I was like, this is awesome. This is where I wanted to be, right? But at the same time, when I got here, I didn't speak any English either. You know, I took some English classes in high school, and I thought I was like perfect English. It wasn't. You know? I came over here and like I say hi, and then they say hi and start talking to me. I'm like, what happened in here? I'm like, I'm lost. So I got a job as a roofer. I was doing construction, and I'm like, all right, in order for me to get ahead over here, first of all, I need to learn the language, right? You know, so I went to work in the morning the whole day, and then at night I would go to school, go to learn English. I took ESL classes. You know,
that's awesome, Silverio. And before, because I know, I mean, we just so you know, we practice, or don't want to say practice. I asked a lot of questions. Silverio did a lot of talking. He wasn't shy with his words for about 2.5 hours last night as we were preparing for this, because we wanted to make sure that there's some key parts of the story that I want to make sure you touch on. And let's backtrack just a little bit real quick. So I remember you went to Mexico City, then you went to Guadalajara. There were some key people that you met before you actually officially got over to the U.S. And it could have gone many different ways. So there's some key characteristics and qualities. You had the faith the entire time that you knew you wanted to make it to the U.S. How many miles did you travel from your home to the U.S.? Do you know roughly how many miles?
Gosh, you know what? I don't know, but I know there are thousands of miles.
Thousands of miles.
Yeah.
You didn't have a car, right?
No, just, you know,
No
going
car.
through the bus, taking the bus. I never took the train though, but I took the bus.
Took the bus.
Yeah.
And then you got some pretty good jobs along the way too. And you had one good job while you're still in Mexico. You had a good paying job. You said that one day's work covered your rent for the entire month. So you're getting paid very well. Even your boss told you, like, why are you leaving? And you were only there for how many months? You were there for
6 months.
6 months.
I was in Guadalajara, Jalisco, and we got there. I think it was Friday. Yeah, Friday night we got there. By Monday, I had a job, because the following day I'm like, all right, I need to do something over here, because I'm not just gonna sit around and see what's up. I went and bought the newspaper the following day, and I started making phone calls. And I got an interview for on Monday for, you know, a company that the same job that I was doing in El Salvador as a machinist. And I got the job. I went on Monday and took a test, And then the guy said, well, come back tomorrow. Be ready to start working at 7 o'clock. So, so I started working in there, but the job was paying really well. That the apartment that I was renting, I can pay that rent for one day. With one day that I work, I'll pay the rent, and then the rest of it, 29 days, was all free money. You know, money that I keep saving for my journey.
So even though you were in a pretty good spot right there, you still wanted to continue that journey. What was it that, how did you not even think twice? You know what I
It
mean?
was my goal. Once I left my house, when I left my house in El Salvador, my goal was to get to the United States. It wasn't to stay in Guatemala or Mexico.
Right.
I wasn't gonna. I was just standing there because because I had to. Other than that, if I would have had the money, I would just continue my journey.
Right.
But even when I had that job, and then I gave my 2 weeks notice to the owner, and he was telling me, he's like, "What are you doing? You get paid well over here. I start working at 7 o'clock in the morning. By 1 o'clock, I'll be done. Because they used to pay me by the pieces that I will put together that I'll make. And so whatever order comes in, and he will give it to me, and I say, well, if I'm done at 1, can I leave? And he was like, yeah, you can leave. But I mean, it was good money, And when I told him, I said, you know what, I'm gonna quit because I'm going up north. And then he's like, what are you doing?
Right.
You're going over there and you don't even know the language, and blah blah blah. And he's like, you got a good job over here. What? And I say, you know what, you're right, and I appreciate your words and your support. But I say my goal when I left my house was to get to the United States, and that's where I'm going.
So what happens next after you leave Guadalajara? I remember you met some key people. Let's talk about those people.
Oh, that was pretty interesting. Got to Matamoros, Tamaulipas by myself around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I remember. And I had a backpack, walk out of the bus. I didn't know where to go, left, right, straight, or just like, where do I go from here? And I remember that because I didn't know the city, I started to track the blocks that I was walking. So I'm like, I'm gonna walk 5 blocks this way, and then I make a turn, go to the right. But I was tracking in case that I got lost. I know how to come back to the bus station, so I can take the bus and go somewhere else.
You mean you didn't have GPS back then? No cell phone GPS?
Nothing.
Right.
And what I had was a name and a phone number. No, a name and an address of someone in there that one of my family friends that passed through that city kind of made a friendship with this person, and he told me, it's like, if you're ever there, you can go talk to this guy. Give me a name and an address, no phone number. So I got there and I started looking for the address, talking to people, like, you know what this is? And people start directing me, it's that way, it's that way, it's that way. Finally, I found it. And I talked to the guy, and he's like, I know your friend. He was here with us. He was a good guy and everything. And he's like, but unfortunately, you can't stay in my house. And it was getting late. And, I was a teenager. I was 16 and a half. And he's like, you can't stay over here because he's like, I got 2 teenage girls, and I go to work and they stay home. So he's like, I'm sorry, but I can't just trust anybody. And I say, you know what? I totally understand. I understand that point. And he's like, but you know what? Let me take you somewhere else. This other guy over here that I know, he also knows your buddy. So maybe he has a space for you. So we went to see this other guy, and the guy went like, yeah, why don't you come stay with me? And, we can talk about it and see how I can help you and stuff. And I said, all right. So I ended up staying with this guy for like 10 days in the border. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm ready to keep going, So, and then I talked to him, and he hooked me up. So, ended up, being on the other side. And from there, I was just like, all right, now I'm here. Now I need to, first of all, I need to learn the language. And secondly, I need to embrace this culture. Because if I don't get to embrace it, if I don't get to understand, you know, the country, the culture, society, I'm gonna have a lot of doors that are gonna be closed to me because of that. But once I figure that out and I start going to school and start talking more English and, you know, practicing with all my friends and we're going out and all the stuff, it became more natural to me to talk to people and talk to you know, about cities or sometimes even politics. And I started to like it. And you know, and I one of the things that I always had, it was like I got somewhere and I accomplished that. Now what's next?
Right.
I wanted to do something else. Oh, okay, I'm here now. So now I need to move. I need to do something else because I already conquered this.
There's some key things that I know we spoke about last night, and I'd hate to keep circling back to it, but it's
No,
really
go ahead.
important. So number one, what was the feeling towards, let's just say, people from El Salvador coming into Mexico? What was the general feeling that you shared with us yesterday?
Oh, that they don't like each other.
Right.
Um,
So you,
Central Americans and Mexicans don't like each other. And I would probably going to say Salvadorans are a little bit more hostile on that. Um, and I mean, it's for many reasons. Sometimes I will just call it, um, sometimes it might be just ignorance, because they don't understand the fact, and what I heard, it never happened to me, but what I heard is that every time Salvadorans cross the Mexican territory, or, you know, Guatemalans or people from Costa Rica or Central America cross the Mexican territory, Mexicans usually, and I'm not talking about the population, I'm talking about the police, the federales, they abuse their power and um, you know, violate these people's you know, rights and put them in jail. And obviously they're crossing illegally, but I mean, they rape their women, or, you know, I heard stories like that. Like I said, I never saw anything like that, but that's what I heard, and therefore, that's why they Central Americans are resentment against the Mexicans because of that. Every time they cross their country, they're, you know, mess with them, and that's what I heard. And like I said, I was in Mexico. I never had any problems. I saw nothing but good people, and as a matter of fact, um, they knew I was Salvadorian, and instead of going against me, they try to help me all the time and say, "Hey, you need anything? Hey, you know, let's go do this, let's go do that." So I, and one of the things that I also, I think that it plays a good role in that is, um, when you travel, when you're somewhere else, when you're in another country, you gotta respect that. You gotta respect these people. You gotta respect the rules. You gotta respect their laws. Um, and you know, if you respect people, people will respect you. They'll get back to you what you're giving them. But a lot of times we expect to treat people harsh, and then we complain because people don't treat us the way we want to.
yeah, no, that was huge. So thank you for sharing that. So a lot of it though was your approach. It was your approach with the people, and as you talk about the respect for others, because even though there was a lot of hostility for many people who tried to go through Mexico from El Salvador, you didn't find it that way. You found people helping you out, including the very last person, which, not trying to keep pin it back to that, but the very last person that you met. So the first family, he had daughters. He said, "You're not staying here." He gives you another name. You
Right.
don't know who that other name is.
Nope.
You're just trusting, complete faith, blind faith, that this guy's leading you in the right direction. And at
Right.
that time, what else was going on that you read in the papers?
Oh, so after I have come made it to the United States, I read in the newspapers that that place that I was staying, there were the cartels, you know, drug cartels in Mexico were like fighting for the territory, and they were killing each other, and they were killing innocent people. People will find dead like on the corners and stuff like that. I never saw anything like that. But in the newspapers, I saw the pictures and I saw the places that they were naming, and those ones are the places I was. You know, I was there for 10 days,
Right.
and I didn't see anything. I don't know. It was just like you said, it was just faith. I had faith that I was gonna make it. You know, and even though I was in the middle of all these killing that I didn't know because I didn't see anything, but once I was on the other side, I saw the newspaper and everything. It was just bad, and I was like, wow, I was just there 10 days in there. You
Right.
know, going out at night and everything, and I never saw anything. It was just I don't know. I think God had a purpose and helped me to get, you know, because my whole journey was beautiful. I never encountered any problems. I never encountered you know, the only problem is I ran out of money. But other than that, I found nothing but good people on my way. And right until, you know, was in the United States. Even when I came into the United States, I found some friends, you know, new people. We made a friendship. The best people, you know, people from here. They were like, "Hey, Silver, look, we're gonna call you Silver because, you know, your name is difficult to pronounce and blah blah blah." And I said, "I get it," you know. And but even there, you know, they were like, "Oh, look, you know, let's do this, let's do that. We're gonna, you know, blah blah blah," and find a job and start working and start hanging out with them and stuff like that. And it was just like, I don't know, it was like seamless. You know, every time I went somewhere, I don't know, it's just it felt like I was already comfortable being there. You know.
That's awesome. Darcy just joined us now too. So if you would say something, so your son, and thank you for your raising your son the way that you did. Your son just recently joined, if you aren't aware, joined the U.S. Marines. He's in boot camp right now.
Yeah.
I know that's challenging and it's been tough for you, just from what you've shared with us, you know, on a personal level. And he's your one and only boy. So after you were pretty much pulled off the streets and thrown into the back of a truck and saying, "Hey, you're going to be in the military." They shave your head, you come back with a new haircut, right?
Yeah.
Curious what Sean's haircut looks like right now too.
Exactly.
But I mean, I just find it amazing that after everything you went through to get here, your focus, your determination to get to the United States, everything you had to persevere to get here. And then your son tells you one day, you know, well, a couple cool things. Let's share the story about the song he dedicated to you.
Oh, so I've been telling this story, the story of my journey to my son since he was little. You know, why I came over here and you know, the journey step by step, so he understand that, you know, I wasn't born over here and it hasn't been easier for me, right? And he gets it. And then, but I say, you know what? Now that he was a teenager, I keep telling him, I say, you know what? Never stop believing. Never stop believe that you believe in something and you can make it. You can do it. And I say, if you dream, you can make it happen. But you have to be you got to have the determination in order to do that. And don't let it go. Don't let it go from your head. That will keep you excited about, you know, moving forward and just dealing with whatever challenges you gonna get along the way. And one day I picked him up from school and we were driving and he's like, "Dad, I got you a song." And I'm like, "Song? Yeah." He's like, "Here." And he played it, and it was "Don't Stop Believing" with
Journey.
Journey.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, that's your song." He's like, "Because you never stopped believing that you were gonna be here in the United States, and look at you now."
It's awesome, man. So what would be the message if you could tell him anything based off your experience? And I'm sure you shared the stories with him. You know, we're recording this. So what, if you could tell Sean anything right now with the challenges that he's facing, the uncertainty with the whole COVID-19, what would be your words for your son?
I would say never give up. Always always focus on the stuff that you want to do, because if you lose your focus because of challenges or other things or other people, you're never gonna get done whatever you want to get done. You get occupied with the news, you get occupied with other stuff, but yourself. And I tell them all the time, I say, you need to if you need to change something, you need to change you first. You gotta believe that you're gonna make it. Now that he went to boot camp, last time I saw him, I hug him and I kiss him and I say, hey, get it done. Just get it done. Don't just focus and get it done. And he wrote the first. We know he writes every week, and we write a lot too. But the first 3 weeks he wasn't having fun. They broke him down, and that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But then after that, I remember writing him on those weeks, and I say I want you to focus on the stuff that you need to do. Don't pay attention to anything else. Just focus, and it's mind over matter. If your mind can think about it, your physical body will follow. And 2 weeks later, he wrote back and he's like, "Hey, I'm starting to have fun over here." Now we had exercise in the water, and something he used to play a water polo in high school. He's like, "I aced that thing." It was fun. So now he's starting to have fun, but it was critical of those first weeks, and all he needed was support, and more like, hey, you remember this? You remember I've been telling you this? So I would just say, you know what? Never give up. I never did.
It's an awesome message, man, and a great introduction to what it is that we're trying to accomplish here. So thank you, Silverio, for sharing your story. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask Silverio. I know you only share that story with people that you care about, the people that you trust. And it's awesome to share it with this group here, because we've got a great group here that's on this call. And no, it's awesome, man. It's about being true to yourself, being true to what your intentions are, what it is that you're trying to do. And just to be clear for everybody, we're not trying to recruit anybody here. We're not trying to. There is no agenda. This is strictly about helping and serving and doing what's right. And
you know what? And that's what I decided to tell my story, a little bit of my story,
right.
Because this is a place that we should all feel safe.
Right.
I'm not, and you're right. I don't tell this story to just anybody. Usually just my friends, my close friends, because there's, I don't know, just there's no need for it. But yesterday when we were talking, and yeah, I agree, and I say, you know what, the message over here is that we should feel safe, and we should all try to help each other. I mean, if anybody else is talking, I might pick up a thing or two, that will help me to do something different that what I'm doing, or to have a different outcome. And sometimes it's inspiring, sometimes it's just educational. But if we can all share without having to have this negative thought of, I don't want to share my ideas because I don't want you to copy my ideas, is, I don't know. To me, it doesn't make any sense. There's enough business for everybody, and like I said before, I don't have any problems going door knocking with other agents when I'm going door knocking. When I used to, because you can't do that right now. But when I used to go door knocking, they're like, "Hey, Silver, you going door knocking?" I said, "Yeah." "Can I come with you?" "Of course." And I saw in different offices sometimes that people will sneak out and go do their thing because I don't want anybody to follow me, because you don't harm my area. And what I say all the time is like, "Hey, listen, come. I mean, 2, 3, let's go." Because the people that won't do business with me might do business with you, and you're not taking my business away, So just being I don't know, I guess humble, and being able or wanted to share all the time. Like anybody ask me anything, "Hey, how do you do this?" I don't hold back. I tell them exactly how I do it, and it might work for them, it might not, but I'm not scared to share my schedule or the way I do things, business wise.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Silverio. And just real quick and that was the environment that we created in the Wood Ranch office. For the short time that we were in the Oxnard Channel Islands office, we created something like that. I see Lisa down here too. And I spent a little bit more time with Andrea and she got tired of hearing about Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill and the philosophies. What do you remember from the stuff I tried to hammer in and brainwash you with, Andrea, just in terms of the success principles, not to put you on the spot, but just in terms of Silverio's story, what are some of the key qualities do you think that many successful people, and these are things that have attracted me to working with Silverio as well as working with you, what qualities did you see in terms of what it took for him to basically, and I'm kind of giving some hints here, burn the bridges behind him, there was no other option other than to achieve his goal. What are some of
the determination and the drive, and he made the decision. That's you were coming to the States. You weren't going to stop along the way, even though you were given opportunities and little distractions and shiny things here and there. You didn't let go of the goal, and I heard the word belief a couple of times, in your story and in your journey. So thanks for all the hints, Brandon. You didn't even need to leave them. I picked all of them up, but
I was trying to give an easy one here, but
right. Thanks for the softball.
but I think it's awesome when we engage, and that's really what I want. This isn't just about Silverio just sharing a story. It's about all of us collaborating together, working towards the same goal, all trying to better ourselves. We can learn from every single person. And that's one of the things that I've always respected about what I hear from Napoleon Hill is he's like, look, whether it's the CEO, wherever it is, I mean, every person has a story. Every person has adversity that they've had to overcome. And when we're truly open-minded to it, now we can truly gain the wisdom from everybody's life experience. And that's the power of a mastermind. That's the power of a group. That's why we're not trying to do this on our own. And that's what I'm hoping to try to build out. So the Wednesday interviews is partially part of that. I'd like to do something probably Friday mornings, if you guys are open to it, Friday at 9 o'clock, where we do something that's a little bit more like what we would do in the past, and try to study whether it's a book. I've heard some people say they want to do a Toastmasters. We can try to do a Toastmasters. If you want to learn how to create your own podcast, if you want to get better on social media, whatever it is that everybody wants to do, I think we should try to collaborate. Try to do something. And actually I was chatting with Brenda the other day, and again, not to just put people on the spot, but Brenda offered some great feedback of what we could do to try to collaborate and work together. And I think, maybe a Friday at 9 o'clock, if you guys are open to it, we spend a half an hour and we pick a topic and we find out what it is that people want to learn and grow. And even if we start small with a group of 3-5 people, I'm good with that. And for me, that's worth it to prepare, put the time into it. It keeps me focused and sharp to make sure that I continue focusing towards that. So I know we have Mark and Darci here. Any other things, or Brenda or Lisa, Beatrice, anybody who got to hear Silverio's story, any other things that stuck out to you just about that story in terms of the success principles that we talk about? All right, Darci, would you and Mark like to share some lending updates information? I know there was some great stuff that Mark was sharing last night. And I guess before we start with that, thank you for what you've done with spending all your time making those masks for everybody. And I think that's awesome. I just definitely wanted to just commend you on your efforts with it. And again, it's about serving and thinking of other people and being productive with our time here, especially with the changes at the stay at home. But I think that's awesome. And, I already cared about and liked you and Mark quite a bit. And last night, just getting a little bit more time with Mark, he shared some great things as well that touched, I know, our hearts. And it's just awesome to work with you. So thank you guys for who you are, what you do for the community. And Mark and Darci, anything that you would like to share in terms of about your experience with that, and then we can jump into the lending updates to wrap this up.
Awesome. No, thank you for that. And what's crazy is, we've moved our offices to our home office. Mark has the upstairs office. I have the downstairs living room. which before all this started, I had ordered new living room furniture. It got delivered. It was all wrong. Praise God, sent it all back, which now gives me the spot to have a big desk in here, which
sewing area.
and my sewing machine and my 2 monitors and my computer are all on one big desk, and then all this. And the funny thing is, and for me, it's where I know God's speaking to me, is that I don't like sewing. I've never liked sewing. I've had my machine like 20 years,
Right.
and I needed to figure out a way to, all these masks.
Hundreds of them.
I've gone over 320, 350. I don't even know, like, I'm sleeping at night, and I actually woke up last night with a dream of sewing. I don't even know why, but it's so cool because it's so good for all of us to give back anyways, and I'm sure everybody does. But it started like, oh, I'll just help on VC nurses, Facebook page, do this. And then all of a sudden it was like, they need help. Kaiser needs help. Blah, blah, nurses help. Dispatch at CMPD, swings towing. I was like, oh my gosh. So nice. It's not like tooting my horn, but it was like 8 o'clock at night and just kept going. And I get better each one, and I'm getting faster. And then this is my cutter. He cuts all my material.
Cutting machine.
But it's such a blessing to give to so many people. And I actually reached out to other people to make the headbands that go in the back. So because the nurses and doctors, their ears get so sore with the elastic. So I have 3 people. We've made over 400 of them. I should say they've made, dropped it off here. Nurses are picking them up on my front porch. So if you guys need a mask, let me know. I just put them outside with everyone's name on it, and the flow is just going and going. And
That's awesome.
I don't know, it's just so good to be able to help.
That's so cool. Thank you so much for doing that. And you said you made over 300 of those by hand now?
Yeah.
I know. I'm going to give away my sewing machine though when this is
And
done.
there's a list of more that we need. So.
Didn't you?
And we still get to do loans. So yeah.
Can you do any with any cool logos on it too, or?
Absolutely.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh, do I want to do it? I'm like, oh gosh. But
We did some for a restaurant, and we had some cool. I think some of them had lobster, had margarita
margaritas
mix,
for all the
all
waiters
kinds
to pass out food. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
get creative with it.
Yeah.
So, do we want to talk about lending a little bit?
Let's do it.
Do you want to start with questions from you guys? You just want to give me I can give you a quick rundown of what's happening right now.
Unless there's any questions, but a quick rundown's good.
Okay. I guess initially I want to talk about the fact that the press makes it sound like the sky is falling when it comes to loans. There have been some changes, there's no question. But your basic loan, anything under $510,000 are still amazing. They still have low interest rates. We could still do 3 1/4 on a 30-year fixed on anything $110,000. It's the high balance loan, anything from 510 to mid 7s, and then jumbo over that. Those are the things that have changed a little bit. You're going to find higher interest rates on the high balance, like the 510 to mid 7s. You'll find a little bit higher interest rates. Qualifications a little bit tighter, and then jumbo. A lot of lenders have even gone out of the jumbo world right now. So the competition is a little slimmer. So the rates are there. Non-QM loans, like bank statement, asset depletion type stuff, that's almost gone. There's a few lenders doing it, but the rates are going to be higher, and the qualifications are going to be a little bit tougher with more reserves and things like that. But the difference between now and what we all experienced in 2007, 2008 is it's temporary. Most of those lenders are just holding back. They're just protecting their investors. They'll be back in the game. Some are saying they're going to come back in about 2 to 3 weeks, saying a month. I want to say these are the big investors that do most of your non-QM, your bank statement type loans. They're coming back. It's nothing like 07 or 08. It's not the end of the world when it comes to lending. It's just a little hiccup. And I think rates are going to stay really strong for the future. The government's still buying mortgage-backed securities. They're spending $10 to $20 billion a day, which is what gives us good rates. As the value of a 30-year mortgage-backed security goes up, which is what that does, interest rates go down. In theory, where the bond market is right now, interest rates should be like 2.5. Mm-hmm. But the investors are backing up a little bit. There's a little uncertainty. They're not sure if Joe Buyer's going to have a job in 2 months. They're not sure about the assets, so on and so forth. So they're slowing it down a little bit. And also because the secondary market, they're not buying loans right now because there's a liquidity issue. So if they're not buying the loans, the investors, the banks can't do the loans because there's nowhere to sell them. So they're just raising the rates a little bit to slow down the flow. Does that make sense to everybody, how that quickly went through that?
Not at all, but
That's why we got questions at.
right. No, that was great. But just so if I'm a listing agent and I'm looking at multiple offer situation, what are you going to recommend as a lending expert from what you're seeing with challenges that are coming up today? What's your biggest focus, and what are the I's to dot, D's to cross, T's to
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing, it sounds silly, is the buyer's employment. Like, if the buyer is a DJ and he does special events, I'm thinking his income's a little questionable right now. If they have a special event company, there might be a little questionable right now. So the key for you talking to the lender who's got the offer on that property is, what do the buyers do? That's a key question for you guys. If they're a police officer, a nurse, a school teacher, they're solid. Nothing's happening with that income. Because see, what happens now is we've always had to do verification of employment towards the end of a transaction. Now we have to do one 2 days prior to the closing of a transaction. So if one of the employees or one of the buyers, if they're on furlough because of the virus situation, their company put them on furlough, if they don't qualify with that lower income, we can't do the loan. Even if the employer says, hey, we're opening up in a month, they're going to be a full-time employee again, we still can't do it if there's not enough money to qualify with that furlough. We can take the lower income, but we can't use their 40-hour week or their salary that we were using previously. So that's a key, I think, for you when offers come in. What I would suggest is, if the lender you work with, have them look at those offers for you. All the information from the lender, because underwriting guidelines are changing hourly sometimes. We get 3, 4, 5 updates from different lenders. Okay, this condition just changed. We can't do this now. We need more reserves. We need this, we need that. So you don't want to come to the end of a transaction and the lender that has that buyer wasn't up to date on the product. So you want to have a lender that's got your back, whoever that may be, hopefully Darci and I at some point, but go to the lender you work with and say, I have these offers. It's a little bit of work for us, but it's going to protect your listing.
That's awesome. And let's circle back just a little bit, because you hit on a key thing. You mentioned if the hours change from 40 hours down to 30 hours, how can that pose an issue? If you're already in escrow, your buyer finds out, hey, we got to cut back in the amount of hours that we're allowed to give you right now because we're getting hit by this. How can that impact the loan?
If now I'm on a 30-hour week versus a 40-hour week, if my approval was really tight, if I just qualified on a 40-hour week, I may not qualify on a 30-hour week, and I have to use the 30-hour week, not the 40.
Could kill the deal then.
Yeah, if somebody's borderline, like if my max debt to income ratio is 47 and I'm at 46.5 at 40-hour week, that 30-hour week is going to throw me over my back end limitations. So they won't qualify at that point. Some still will. Some still will. Maybe they're well qualified. The ratios are fine.
When's the last time they're gonna check that? Just in following up with that question, when's the last time they're gonna verify their hours?
2 days before we close.
Wow.
Yeah.
So not just verification of employment 2 days before, but actually how many hours 2 days before?
We get a final paycheck. So if they get paid on the 1st and the 15th, if we're closing on the 17th, we want that 15th paycheck. So if that 15th paycheck isn't a full paycheck, they're going to pull the funding and find out what's going on.
That's crazy.
And we'll do a verbal or a written with HR or a direct manager 2 days prior also. We used to do them, but it was very simple. Are they still working? Everything's good? Okay, fine. Now it's a little more detailed. Has anything changed in their hours? Has anything changed in their pay? Lenders are really nervous about what they call first payment default. That's the worst thing that can happen to an investor, because they're betting on this money. They close a loan, and that's where the forbearance thing is going to come in too. That's going to be a big mess as people do forbearance. Say they just close next month, and then, I'm going to do a forbearance for the next 6 months. That's going to hurt the investor that did it. Like if CSMC Mortgage did that loan, we would eat that loan for the next 6 months. We couldn't sell it. So they wouldn't be making payments to anybody. CSMC Mortgage would have to make that payment for the next 6 months to pay off that loan. And then once that starts getting paid, once they get back to work, if they get back to work and they start making money and can make those payments, then we can sell that loan on the secondary market. So it's really important. We have to protect ourselves too, as any other of the lenders do. They got to make sure that there's no first payment default. And that's the main reason for those thorough, it's not like it's crazy different than it used to be. We always used to verify employment. It's just a little more detailed because they're concerned about it.
So isn't that one of the concerns with FHA right now, is just the fact that if somebody decides not to make that first payment or their first couple payments because of a new job situation, that potential lender could have to take that loan back? Is that, or it's not protected under
Any loan that we do, we wouldn't be able to sell
right?
if they take a forbearance or don't make their first few payments.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, and just to break that down for everybody in the community and also real estate agents, and just understanding what that means, does that typically mean that, that lenders are going to be a little bit more conservative on that FHA loan on whether they're going to approve that? Are they going to have extra overlays? Are they going to have extra requirements? I've heard higher credit. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, depending on the investor, we have a variety of them. They're either 640 or 680 minimum FICO score on an FHA loan.
Okay.
3 weeks ago, we go down to 580. There still is a few at 580, but the interest rate's really high. It wouldn't make sense to go that way. They've just kind of backed out of the market, even though they say they'll do a 580 FICO. That it doesn't make sense. The buyer needs reserves. You've never needed reserves before an FHA loan, so now you need reserves and higher FICOs. And again, it's just all the lenders are doing is they're slowing the business down because they us to settle financially. In the back end markets where the investors are buying loans, once they start buying, they'll start doing them again. The rates will come back down. The conditions will be the same. Okay. We just got to get over this mess. I think the like I said at the beginning, the best thing is it's short term.
Right.
This isn't a long term change.
You also touched on earlier, you threw out the number about 510. So 510, once we start getting to loan amounts over 510,000, just for everybody, because it took me a while to understand this. Those are high balance loans, correct?
Yeah. Your conforming loans, what they call conforming, go from $0 to $510,400. I don't know why they throw the $400 in there, but that's the number they use. From 510,400 up to the mid sevens. It depends on the county and so on and so forth. So I won't give you an exact number because it varies. So 510 to the mid sevens, that's what they call high balance loan. Anything over that is a jumbo loan. Okay. Between the 510 and the mid sevens, the high balance, those rates are a little bit higher too, because there's a little more risk for the investors. Say 2 months ago, you were doing a loan of 600,000, 5% down. Wouldn't have been that big a deal. Maybe mid threes if you had a 700 FICO. I quoted a guy yesterday 4.5 with a point. So they didn't have any pricing, what they call par pricing, where there's no extra fee. The best they would give me is 4.5, and that buyer would have to pay a half a point to a point to get that rate. In other words, they're backing out of that market again a little bit. It's still, if you think about it too, the crazy thing is 4.5 on a high balance loan with 5% down is still really a good interest rate if we look historically, right? We're just so used to the mid threes now. So it's still, I wouldn't say a buyer don't do it. It's still a great time to buy a house if the price is right. It's in the right neighborhood. You can get 4.5 on a 30-year fixed at 650, right? So, and then always refi down the road if you need to.
But this is an important point for all of us as agents, because if somebody's been pre-qualified a month ago and they had a great interest rate a month ago, you need to get them pre-qualified today to make sure. With Mark and Darci, you got to get them pre-qualified with Mark and Darci. Make sure that they're getting the most accurate interest rate information today, because that's a huge difference. And it's, I mean, almost a full %, right? In certain situations.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that could change a payment $200 or $300. One, it could kick them out of a qualification. Two, it could take them out of their comfort zone. Ooh, I didn't want to pay them at 35. I told you 3 or 31, type thing. I had a realtor just recently call me. Hey, I showed so-and-so a property and they're ready to write an offer. I'm like, wait. You told me they weren't looking right now. Let me look at their qualifications. And that's the example I just told you. Their rate changed almost a full percentage point. And he's like, I don't want to go to 650 now. We got to go down to 610 or 620 because it took them above their comfort zone. 2 months ago, that was a great loan. 5% down, 3.5. Or 3 5/8 rather, it was a piece of cake. But now so with that lesson, any buyer I had pre-qualified, I've gone through their paperwork and called the realtor, hey, they were at this price range, they might have dropped a little bit to keep them in that comfort zone or keep them into their qualification. Just as I would do when rates go down, I would call my realtor, hey, Brandon, the guy we qualified at 4, I can get him 3.5 now. Now he can go to 625 if he wants to. That type of thing. The same is the reverse now as rates go up.
Okay, no, that's good to know. And also to think about, if you have listings that are over a certain price point, that you're going to have these challenges that are going to come up. It's going to get a little bit more expensive. So it shrinks your pool of buyers that can actually qualify for it. So you have to educate your sellers to let them know that, hey, look, before we had potentially 15 buyers, now we may have 5 to pick from. So we need to
Right.
be smart about how we're negotiating these counters. You come too strong, they're going to leave and then go to the next property that's going to come up. Because I'm starting to see properties slowly starting to come on right now, especially since they changed this to essential again. We'll see how long that lasts, but hopefully, you know, to be optimistic, hopefully that lasts for some time and we see a little bit more of a pickup, because from all the reports and everything that I'm hearing, this next month's going to be a little bit slower for most people, but hopefully the month after that, especially since they changed that status, we're going to see a little bit more of a pickup, you know, in terms of that.
I think if I could, before you add one quick thing, Brandon, before you jump on that, one thing I really want you guys to think about too is cross qualification, like I talked about earlier, and loan contingencies are going to be tough.
Right.
I'm really uncomfortable removing a loan contingency right now, because if they're fully qualified, we're not closing for 2 weeks, and then they lose their job or they're cut back in pay. Now we can't do the loan. We already removed the loan contingency. So I'm not sure if something can come up contract-wise, like I'm going to remove the loan contingency, except for coronavirus effective losing a job, something like that. I don't know if that makes sense, Brandon, but
That's a good point.
it's really tough. I had one that the dad was co-signing for, or giving a huge gift for the daughter, and the daughter's lost his job. Well, he's backing up now. He asked the listing agent, give me 30 more days. I need to find out if my son-in-law is going to get his job back. If he's not, I'm not giving my daughter $200,000 to buy this house.
Isn't that covered in one of the addendums that came out, one of the early addendums? Isn't that covered though?
Oh, I don't know. Is it? Yeah.
It is, but you still got to get both sides to sign it. And then on top of that, you got to be careful. And at first I was real excited, like, okay, definitely every single one of our buyers, we got to get them to sign this, try to find a way to get the sellers to sign it and say, this is the only way we're moving forward.
Okay.
But at the same time, there's an out for the seller. So you actually create a potential out for the seller where your buyer can have done everything right. You know, I have a situation where somebody's moving from Texas into the state and they have to move into their next property. So if I have that, yeah, it gives them a little extra layer of protection on their earnest money deposit. But what if something happens to the seller situation and now they say, we don't want to sell our house? Now I've created an opening there. So you just have to, you got to check with your office manager. You got to check with your broker before you do send something out like that. And they should be, you know, I think we all should be cooperating and working with this. I'm hopeful that people aren't fighting over earnest money deposits when it's something that's completely out of our control. But unfortunately, people are desperate for money right now. So I'm facing the removal of the loan contingency in one of my transactions right now, and it's tough. It's like, what do I do? Yeah, everything looks solid. He's military. I mean, it should be rock solid. Everything should be good to go, but you never know. You never know what could come up. So, you know, ideally in a perfect world, I can leave that potential out to the very end if I can, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. So it's challenging, but talk to your office manager and your brokers about that before you send it. But no, I think that's a great point. Also in terms of timing, what are you saying realistically? I mean, I know we always want to say we can close in 30 days. What's a safe bet for doing just your regular loans right now?
45 is safe. Absolutely, 45 is safe. There are all those exceptions where we have to close in 30. If I inherit a loan from somebody who might not be able to do it, we're already in escrow, we have to close in 30 days. I can push it through the system on a purchase for sure. We'll make it happen. And that's just due to flow of business and how it's being done now with everybody working from home, and the amount of loans we have in the system, and every lender has in the system right now because of the refi craze. They're just a little backed up. So 45 is absolutely realistic, 30 if we have to. Sure.
Yeah, no, those are all great points. I'm trying to look at my notes to see if there's anything else. I guess the forbearance, that's just the last thing you had mentioned. You talked about forbearance. You know, on the lending side, let's talk about forbearance just in terms of as people look at what their current state of affairs are and they're considering doing a forbearance. Any light you can shed on that from your background?
Yeah, I mean, forbearance, what the experts are saying, obviously, if you can afford your mortgage, pay your mortgage, right? The forbearance has so many unforeseen results, I think. What's going to happen is, and it's just kind of changing as it progresses, right? Depending on your bank, depending on who your loan's with, there could be a few results. They could say, okay, you don't have to make a payment for 6 months. It could be that at the end of that 6 months, you owe them 6 months of mortgage right then, depending on that situation. And so the example I heard earlier, say your house payment's $1,000 a month, right? So in 6 months, You haven't made that payment, you're going to owe them $7,000. Well, that's not a help. That's a hindrance. So if you say to your bank, okay, I can't do this, I just don't have $7,000. What they may do is take that $7,000 and start here. So now your payment went from $1,000 to what, $1,700, $1,800 a month now for the next 12 months to make up that money that that was in forbearance. Or I think the best case scenario, but I haven't seen too many lenders put it in writing, will do this, is put at the end of your loan. That actually would be helpful for everybody. Not long-term, because now you owe more money on that house. That 30-year loan just went to a 30-year 6-month loan, and you know they're going to accrue interest on it. So long-term, you're spending more money. So, and what happens is it doesn't affect your credit. That's the blessing. It directly doesn't affect your credit score. It doesn't say you have mortgage rates, but depending on the option that you take, it could say that you went through a loan modification. So loan modification on a credit, although it doesn't hurt your score, it's going to affect your ability to get a loan down the road. Because me as a lender, I have to look at your payment history. Oh, they didn't make a payment for 6 months. Even though it won't report late or affect your credit score, it's still going to be on the information that I get from your existing lender that says they've been in forbearance and we did a loan modification. So it could affect your ability to get a loan down the road. We don't know yet exactly how.
You think roughly about 6 months out? So if somebody was hoping to purchase in 6 months, sell their house, purchase another property in 6 months, they should probably caution against doing a forbearance, is what you're saying?
Correct. We usually need a 12-month clear history.
Okay.
So if you've done it within the last 12 months, it could be an issue. I'm not saying it will be for sure, because again, they keep changing these rules every day.
Right.
So,
but that could potentially add a risk. So it's something that we want to definitely advise our clients of. And I think that the indirect problem with forbearance, it's an intrinsic thing that doesn't affect us at all directly. But as all these people don't make their mortgage payments, that hurts the financial industry. Not that me say, oh, if I'm going to say, okay, I'm not going to do forbearance because I want to help the financial industry, that one payment's not going to make a difference. But the fact that so many people are doing it, how it works, a servicer, say you make a payment to Joe's servicing company. Well, that servicer has purchased that loan from the bank, okay? They purchased a loan. I'm gonna make this as short and simple as possible. That servicer owes the bank that money every single month. If I don't make my payment, he still owes the bank that money every single month. So these servicers are gonna start going bankrupt. If they go bankrupt, somebody's gotta buy those notes. The big lenders don't wanna buy those notes right now because there's no payments on them. So it's really gonna cause a big cluster in the financial industry. The more people that don't make their payments, the more people, more companies could be hurt. Servicers, other banks, portfolio loans like bank statement loans, things like that. They don't have to do forbearance because they're not Fannie Freddie. But if they offer that to clients, their investors are going to get hurt too. So that's a snowball effect. I think forbearance, people really need to talk to their accountant about the end results of what that could cause for them. Oh, that's great.
A little more in depth, I'm sorry, but
I appreciate that. That's what I was hoping for, is just a little bit more explanation, because most of us don't really understand it completely. How you doing?
Hey, buddy.
Hopefully he's not filing for a forbearance anytime soon.
Yeah, your payments, okay?
No forbearance. That's right. Any other questions or any other final thoughts that you'd like to share? Any questions by anybody, just in terms of what's happening in the lending world? Any questions that that the agents have here that are on the call? Try to run through as many. I think we hit just about everything that you hit. I mean, the only other thing you talked about, you mentioned mortgage insurance went up just a little bit on certain loans.
Just a little bit on the lower down payment. You guys know you have mortgage insurance, anything less than 20% down, we got MI. 5% down to 10% down, the MI rates went up just a little bit. So it's going to affect the borrower maybe $50 to $100 a month at the most. Right. But just something to think about. And then another thing I did mention too, we're doing a few more first and seconds. Remember I talked about the interest rates higher from 510 to the mid 7s. Right. Well, if my loan's going to be say 600, let's do a 400 first and 200 second, or 500 first and $100,000 second to get that better payment on the first. Right. Have the second, and if need be, refinance it down the road when the dust settles. Or so there's other options to just getting stuck in that balance. Yeah, that's a great point. And you also mentioned that the rates were still great for, I think, under 480. Is that under 510? Awesome. Under 510. Okay. 510, 400. Yeah. Right. Yeah, they're still in the low threes. It's still a great loan. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, you just mentioned VA was still one of the best. You
Oh
know,
yeah, VA is a
I
great
know
loan.
we do quite a bit right now, so VA is
Still low to mid threes. We're a direct lender. As you guys know, no monthly MI on a VA loan. So yeah, still do 100% financing. Yeah,
Purple Heart.
and they have a Purple Heart, so there's no upfront mortgage insurance premium or funding fee
Yeah.
rather.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of great stuff on VA loans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, solid as you talked about the type of buyer. Those buyers are about as solid as you can get right now
Absolutely,
too.
they are.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah.
other ones you said? Police officers, teachers. Which other ones are the solid occupations that we should be looking for as real estate agents?
I guess nurses, if you can get a hold of them right now, right? They're kind of busy.
Right.
I hate to categorize certain ones as solid, but the ones you mentioned, absolutely. They have job security, firefighters, what's that?
Frontliners.
Any frontliners for sure. Certain
Postal
industries,
workers.
postal workers, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's no question on the verification of employment. So if you get buyers in those industries, I wouldn't sweat it.
Okay.
Again, well, like I mentioned, if you got somebody who has a event planning company, we might want to question that income. Restaurants, yeah, bartenders, waitresses, things like that.
That's awesome.
The income stops. Definitely question those.
How about,
A lot of great information. Go ahead, Silverio.
Mark, how about self-employed?
Yeah, self-employed. I mean, we're still doing them, no question. Depends on the industry. We're closing loans for realtors. I heard a lender who closed one for one recently that all the investor wanted to see is, did they have some listings? They got some listings. Okay, we can use the income that we've used to qualify them with. So each situation is different. We need CPA letters, a little more detailed letters than we would need in the past. And that's right towards the end of the transaction also. Has the income been affected by the virus situation? So a CPA is putting his name on the line, her name on the line, saying, hey, this company's still viable, they're still strong. Might need a P&L a little more closer to the time of the closing. So yeah, self-employed is still doable, without a doubt, as long as it's a valid, viable, solid company right now. If I'm a self-employed restaurant owner, no, probably not.
Right.
Right.
Printing companies, those are good. They're all open still.
Yeah, all the smaller companies that are necessary right now are, yeah, absolutely, no question mark. So good to go.
Sewing machine repair companies. They're really super busy right now. Super busy. And they only let one person to drop off at a time. So I don't know why I know that. I wouldn't know that before. See what's happening?
Oh, Lord.
That's awesome. All right. Any other final questions that we have for Mark and Darci while we have them? Well, Scott and Brenda, thank you for joining us as well. Any thoughts that you want to share just in terms of what's happening in the title world, just really quickly, that would be good for agents to know? You're still doing business, right? All right, I think you're muted.
We are still open. Yeah, consumers is open. We're still doing business. Still, busy as ever. I mean, it's an interesting time for sure. So it's different working from home. I absolutely hate that part of it, only because I'm so connection focused, and so it's nice to have these Zoom calls. I appreciate you doing them, Brandon. In regards to the county recorders, they're still open, but you can't go in. We're doing electronic recordings, so that's about it on the title side.
That's great. And then are they still, do you know, just in the escrow office, are they doing everything by e-signature or with a notary? How's that working right now?
So we are doing the e-signatures. The e-notaries are not not in California right now. I know that they're working on it, but it's just, unfortunately, you still got to meet in person for that kind of thing. So, and I know that all the mobile notaries are taking all the precautions that they can in regards to, if they're sick, they stay home but unfortunately they're still meeting in person right now.
It's good to know. Thank you for sharing.
Hey, Brenda, we're not doing specials still, are we? Special recording? Don't you have to go into the recorder's office to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try to space the day out, then don't try to fund and record on the same day.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. And
for
then,
sure.
And you also shared with me a great platform. I think we're good on this, just if you want to share some of that. There's some amazing tools that consumers has available. and she shared some of that information with me. So if you need any help with marketing, any great tools that can help you at this time from home, I highly recommend that you reach out to Brenda, set up a time. It's worth spending about an hour with her, and she can walk you through everything. It's pretty amazing. So without sharing too much about it and giving all the, special sauce out there, it's definitely worth the time. So I just want to give you that quick plug. If there's
Thanks, Brandon.
share
Yeah,
about that.
so much good stuff. And, I know there's a lot of social media. People want social media stuff out there right now. And I got all that, and it's all personalized with your photo and logo and all that stuff. Just so many good things. I know that we're going to go over at another time, but.
Yeah, we're going to have Brenda on here in about, I think, 3 weeks. So 3 Wednesdays from now, we'll do an interview and talk about some of those details with her and Megan. Next week, we actually have 1031 tax exchanges is going to be the topic. So Phil Atwan, who came into, I know our office previously, awesome speaker. There's a bunch of changes and updates with that, with what's happening. So if you want to know about that, there's definitely going to be some good information. So that interview will be next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. The following Wednesday, I have Laura Lee Anthony Baer now. That's how you say her last name, right? Baer, I believe, B-A-E-R. Amazing leader in the industry, has a huge background in mediation and arbitration. She's actually still associated with the California Association of Realtors there. She was one of my very first mentors. So looking forward to also interviewing her. But again, just want to thank Silverio. Thank you for sharing your story, buddy. That was awesome. And same with you, Mark and Darci, and we'll do it another time when we get to hear your story, right? And hear some of the things that you want to share.
Put everybody to sleep. Yeah, I'll tell you a story.
It is so exciting.
No, it's but I think it's awesome to kind of see on the personal side of what we do, not just the real estate side or the facade, whatever you want to call it, but get to know each other on a personal level is key. So just thank you all
for having us today, Brandon.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Lisa, for joining, and we'll do it again. So Friday at 9, if you guys are available, just shoot me a quick message so I know, and I'll try to send the invite and try not to screw up the Facebook Live. We'll see whether we do it on Facebook Live or not, but more importantly, we just want to get the group together, knock it out for a half an hour, and go from there. So just thank you guys all. Have a blessed week.
Guys,
stay well, you guys.
Stay safe.
Be healthy.
Bye.
You guys take care. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Andrea. Bye, buddy.
Bye.
See you later. Bye, Silver. All right. Let me stop 1 sec.